Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Hare Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Jaya Radha Madan Mohan Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Radha Madan Mohan Radhe Jaya Jagannatha Jagannatha Baladeva Jaya Subhadra Mai Jagannatha Jagannath Baladeva Jaya Sumi Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai 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 Jaya Gauranitai Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Jaya Vishnupad Paramasparacharya Ashtotar Shata Shri Shishimant His Divine Grace Sesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Shri Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Beauty Founder Shri Prabhupada Ki Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Shri Prabhupada Ki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiret Nashta Praesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopakumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12. Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. Text 44. Maitreya Uvacha Etatte Abhitam Sarvam Yat Prushtoham Mihatvaya Dhruvasyodhama Yashasas Charitam Sammatam Satam Maitreya Uvacha Etatte Abhihitam Sarvam Yat Prashtoham Mihatvaya Dhruvasyodhama Yashashas Charitam Sammatam Satam Maitreya Uvacha Etatte Abhihitam Sarvam Yat Prashtoham Mihatvaya Dhruvasyodhama Yashashas Charitam Sammatam Satam. Etate Bhitam Sarvam Prishtoham Nirupaya Sudhamaya Shasas Charitam Sammatam. Any, Sudhamaya Shasas. Any Mantajis? Maitreya Uvacha. The great sage Maitreya said, Etad, this, te, unto you, abhihitam, describe, sarvam, everything, yet, what, prishtaham, I was asked, iha, here, tvaya, by you, Dhruvasya, of Dhruv Maharaj, Uddhama, greatly uplifting, Yashasha, whose reputation, Charitam, character, Sammatam, approved, Satam, by great devotees. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. The great sage Maitreya continued, My dear Vidura, whatever you have asked from me about the great reputation and character of Dhruv Maharaj, I have explained to you in all detail. Great saintly persons and devotees very much like to hear about Dhruv Maharaj. Purport. Srimad Bhagavatam means everything in relationship with the Supreme Personality Godhead. Whether we hear the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Lord, or we hear about the character, reputation, and activities of His devotees, they are all one and the same. Neophyte devotees simply try to understand the pastimes of the Lord and are not very interested in hearing about the activities of His devotees. But such discrimination should not be indulged in by any real devotee. Sometimes less intelligent men try to hear about the rasa dance of Krishna and do not take care to hear about other portions of Srimad Bhagavatam which they completely avoid. There are professional Bhagavat reciters who abruptly go to the Ras Leela chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam as if other portions of Srimad Bhagavatam were useless. This kind of discrimination and abrupt adoption of the Ras Leela pastimes of the Lord is not approved by the Acharyas. A sincere devotee should read every chapter and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam, for the beginning verses describe that it is a ripened fruit of all Vedic literature. Devotees should not try to avoid even a word of Srimad Bhagavatam. The great sage Maitreya therefore affirmed herein that the Bhagavatam is Sammatam Satam, approved by great devotees. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parishana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Namaum Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatadesha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gaurasve Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpa Tarambhyascha कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपः तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरून् दीनतारिणम्। Hare Krishna. So before I start speaking, I sing the blessings of His Grace Anand Mahaprabhu and all the assembled Vaishnavas. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Gauranitai, Shri Shri Jagannath Vallabh Subhadramaya ki jai. So I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas so that I can glorify the Supreme Lord and the devotees for my own purification. So in this particular verse, we are seeing that the great sage Maitreya Muni is concluding here about Dhruva Maharaj, and he is telling the Vidura, upon his request, he has spoken about Dhruva Maharaj in great detail, and he is telling that how great saintly personalities very much like to hear about Dhruva Maharaj. So we see that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was in Jagannath Puri after taking sannyas, every day he would go to Tota Gopinath where Gadadhar Pandit was staying, and every day they would discuss Srimad Bhagavatam at least for 2 hours. So there it is mentioned that every day they would again discuss the pastimes of Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj. It's not that they heard once and they said that okay, I know this or sufficient. It's mentioned that again they discuss the same pastimes of Dhruva and Prahlad Maharaj. Actually, the pastimes of Dhruva and Prahlad are very special because Dhruva Maharaj and Prahlad Maharaj are only 5-year-old children, and although they are so small, they could achieve the mercy of the Lord in their childhood, and anything generally the children do is very attractive for elders or people in general, and especially when children perform devotional service, it's all the more attractive. And here we see Prahlad and Dhruva achieving perfection, the Lord appearing, seeing their sincere devotional service and blessing them right in childhood itself. Right? Childhood only they perform such activities. Later on, yeah, it is much more. Right? So, generally, it inspires people when children take to devotional service and perform very seriously. So, recently we met some children who were very inspiring to us. So, there is one boy, they are very new children, they are not born to devotees. So, one boy, Jashit, he is only 10 years old. He got Srimad Bhagavatam during Bhadra Purnima. Recently, I had met him. So he said he finished 7 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam within 3-4 months. 10-year-old, this much height. And he is answering so many questions. So one question I had asked some other devotee. He said where it is. Means he was not knowing where it is also. Some other means other devotee. But this boy was so much remembering. It's very inspiring. And he got Lilamrit 7 volumes. He finished 2 volumes. Matter of 1 month. So, and there is one more. Rajshampur had gone for Srimad Bhagavatam installation. One 6th standard girl, Anvi. So she every day gets up 4:30 and wakes up their other family members. She chants 16 rounds, and on Ekadashi chants 64 rounds. So Prabhuji was telling that brahmacharis sometimes we are not able to chant 64 also. We should feel ashamed when we see such children chanting 64 rounds. So, so we see that when children take to Krishna consciousness so seriously, it is really inspiring, right? So, so exclusively it is not mentioned why Lord Chaitanya would like to hear those two, but it appears that because it's obviously very inspiring uh, for anyone in general, right? So we should also take inspiration from this pastimes of Dhruv Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, that it is such a simple process that even children can also perform. Then why not adults? Right? If children, who generally we think they are very, what you call, tiny, they are not, they can't do anything on their own. Generally, they are not so knowledgeable. Uh, so people don't take so seriously children, right? But but we see that means this process is so simple that even children also can perform. Prabhupada said that uh, children also can chant, dance, and take prasad. Even children also can participate. What is so difficult, right? And here, especially Dhruv Maharaj, he has shown us that how one can achieve the mercy of the Lord in within 6 months. He could get the darshan of the Lord by his intense austerities. He could please the Lord and get his darshan. So, the character of Dhruv Maharaj, one quality which he teaches us is his determination to get the mercy of the Lord. He had such great determination that whatever is required to get the mercy of the Lord, I am ready to do. So that is one very important lesson which we can learn from Dhruv Maharaj. So he was ready to leave his home. He was ready to fast from even air. Generally, we may become proud about fasting nirjala or something. But he felt that even breathing is his sense gratification. So he even stopped that. So whenever we become little proud about our austerities, we can remember Dhruv Maharaj. So we will not become proud about it. So, and he was so much absorbed in the various devotional activities of the Lord with great determination. So, seeing his intense austerities for the pleasure of the Lord immediately appeared there. He became so powerful that all the three worlds were uh, trembling in the sense, seeing his, in the sense, because of the influence of his devotional service, like that. So, here Prabhupada is talking about the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam, and especially why Srimad Bhagavatam is important, because everything in this Srimad Bhagavatam is in relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We see that Vedavyas, he wrote all the Vedas and Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra and all, but still he was not satisfied. Because Narada Muni explains that he has not sufficiently glorified the Supreme Personality Godhead. But Srimad Bhagavatam, all the narrations are about the Supreme Lord or in connection with the Supreme Lord. So here Prabhupada is mentioning whether we hear about the pastimes and activities of Lord or we hear about the character, reputation, activities of his devotees, they are all one and the same. So, as much as we are interested in hearing about Lord, we should also be showing interest in hearing about the activities of his devotees. And then Prabhupada is talking about how some people are not interested in hearing the pastimes of devotees or other pastimes. They are only interested in hearing the rasa dance, the ras lila portions of the Srimad Bhagavatam. They only go to these chapters of Srimad Bhagavatam and they think that all other portions are useless. So actually we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is mentioned that one should study the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says only after studying all the 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam in order, one after another. Because these cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam, where all the various pastimes of the Lord are mentioned, that will purify one's heart. When we hear the various pastimes of the Lord and His devotees, that will purify our heart and establish the greatness of the Lord. So when we understand the supreme greatness of the Lord and His wonderful qualities, then when we hear the rasa dance, then we will be able to hear in a proper way, with proper understanding. But when we hear those pastimes directly, then we will think that relate those pastimes with us and our mind senses may become agitated. We may think Krishna to be someone ordinary. When we hear that the same Krishna is incarnating in so many ways as Varaha, Narsimha and so on, and he is creating so many universes, all the various pastimes we hear, and then after that you hear the pastimes of Ras Leela, then it will be, means we will be able to understand it properly. But if you directly hear, then we'll see it on the level of any ordinary person. And we may think that Krishna is like ordinary boy trying to enjoy with ordinary girls of this world. So actually, unless we understand the greatness of the Lord, the sweet pastimes of the Lord may become very sentimental. We may hear only with the mind, we may not hear with our heart. So once Radhesham was telling that when they were singing Damodarashtakam in the Kunjabihari temple, so one old man was also sitting in the kirtan, and after that kirtan he was crying. Tears were coming. So he said that when I am hearing this song, Namamishwaram, he is saying that I am remembering my grandchild. He is also like this little Krishna. And I am remembering his sweet face and smile and all. And that's why I am getting tears. So when one doesn't understand the greatness of the Supreme Lord, so we'll only compare Krishna with ordinary people of this world. So that's why we need to hear all the pastimes of the Lord. Like how Lord created this universe, how Lord created them, all the living entities. In the 5th canto we see in great extent the creation explained, how huge this creation is, and all the various details are given in so much detail, and then we understand how great is Lord. It's not so easy for us to create so many things with such detail. Also we hear various pastimes of Lord like Varahadev, how he lifts the earth, and then he is so huge, covering the 3 worlds, right? How Lord can take any form and still he is beautiful. Even though he comes as Varaha, he is still supremely effulgent, has lotus like eyes, and even in that form also he is very attractive. Even though Lord appears in various forms, Varaha, Narsimha, Meena, Avatar, so many different incarnations are explained in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Kurma. So all these forms are expansions of the Supreme Lord Krishna, and they have the same potency. And when we hear all those pastimes, we understand the extent of Lord's greatness, how exalted He is, and how tiny we are. So Srimad Bhagavatam helps us to understand this. It gives us knowledge of the greatness of the Lord and our own insignificant position. Also, in some lectures, Prabhupada used to say that the pastimes of the Kurukshetra battle are same as the Ras Leela of the Lord. There's no difference. It's not that because Krishna is telling philosophy there, that is not so important as as a Ras Leela of the Lord, or the creation is not as important as the Ras Leela of the Lord. Prabhupada many times would say this is the same, there is no difference, because anything in relation with the Lord has the same potency. But without understanding the greatness of the Lord, if we hear, then it will not purify us. Instead of purifying us, we may become putrefied. So, uh, when Prabhupada went to Chennai, he was staying in one well-wisher's house. So one day his wife, the husband wife, they came to Srila Prabhupada in the evening, and they said, Swamiji, can you please narrate the Ras Leela pastimes of the Lord? So Prabhupada said, denied. So again they were requesting, please tell like that. We are very eager to hear the pastimes. So Prabhupada then said, you may be qualified to hear, but I am not qualified to speak the Ras Leela pastimes of the Lord. So we can understand if Prabhupada feels like that, then what we are, right? But there are so many professional Srimad Bhagavatam speakers who only focus on the Ras Leela pastimes. They are only cheaters, because they are, for the sake of money and name, fame, they are just narrating these pastimes to attract the people of this world, to fulfill their sense gratification, right? So such sort of professional reciters of Srimad Bhagavatam are condemned by Srila Prabhupada many times. So people in general, they want to hear these pastimes of Ras Leela and they want to imitate. You see, Krishna is nicely dancing with young girls, so that means we can also dance. So that's why they want to hear these pastimes. It's not that they are attracted by Krishna and all. They want to imitate. So Prabhupada used to say, okay, if you want to imitate, why only imitate the Ras Leela pastimes? You should also imitate other pastimes. You should lift the Govardhan hill. You should show the Vishwaroop, right? And then you should show universe in your mouth. So you show all this, you imitate, kill all the big demons. So you show all these pastimes, you imitate these pastimes first. Because these pastimes came first. After that, the Ras Leela and all. So first you show this, if you imitate this also, then we can believe, means then you can hear the other, you can imitate the other pastimes also. Right? But they cannot. They are just bluffing people. So, we should understand that we should not unnecessarily hear without sufficiently getting purified. So Prabhupada is mentioning, and sincere devotee should read every chapter and every word of Srimad Bhagavatam from the beginning verses, because this is the ripened fruit of all Vedic literature. So Srimad Bhagavatam is nectarian, each and every canto. So Prabhupada once he told one of his disciples that even one book of, means whatever Prabhupada has written, even one book if somebody reads, they can come back to Godhead. Then he said, if not one book, at least few pages, if he reads, he can get perfection. Then he said, even one page, if somebody reads, he can get perfection. Then he said, even one line can give him perfection. Then finally he said, even one word can also give perfection. So if a devotee sincerely understands even one word and applies in his life, then actually he can attain perfection. Like Prabhupada took the Vyavasayatmika Buddhi Ekeha Kurunandana. One should take the instruction of spiritual master as life and soul. This one sentence he took is to his heart, and then we can see the whole ISKCON manifesting, right? So uh, it's not about uh, it's not about how much knowledge we have, but it's about how much we are applying in our lives, right? So another thing is that the hearing about the pastimes of the devotees is having the same effect as hearing the pastimes of the Lord. Actually, it is much more, because okay, Lord's pastimes anyway, He is great, so it is attractive. But we all need examples in our lives who follow these principles given by Lord. Without examples, then it is difficult to follow, or it is difficult to get inspired, right? So like Rajsham Prabhu has been glorifying Vishwakirti Prabhu. So because he is setting an example every day, going for Harinam, so seeing that others are also getting inspired. So we need examples, especially conditioned souls, right? So same way, when we see in Srimad Bhagavatam, so many wonderful examples of devotees setting the standard for devotional service. So whenever we think of any situation, we can think of those devotees. So sometimes when we get lot of difficulties in our life, we get disturbed. So we can think of Prahlad. So nobody in this world has been put into such trouble like Prahlad. Nobody is throwing us from hilltops. Nobody is attacking us with weapons. Nobody puts us in a pit of snakes. Right? So our troubles, when we compare with Prahlad or devotees like in Srimad Bhagavatam we see Pandavas and so many, right, who undergo so many difficulties. So our troubles are very, very tiny, very small, right? So we can remember Prahlad, right? We can remember Dhruva Maharaj for determination, that how much he was determined to practice Krishna consciousness. He was ready to go to any extent for the sake of achieving the mercy of the Lord. So sometimes we lack determination. We don't get so much enthused to practice Krishna consciousness. We don't take up such much risk. But we see how much Dhruva Maharaj has taken risk. How much Narada Muni in his past life as that boy, Shudrani's child, how much he has taken risk. They left to the forest, small children, without any shelter, without any money, all wild animals and nobody to protect them in that sense, physically. But still they took so much risk, right? So we can remember devotees like Prahlad and Dhruva, right? So in many situations, when we don't feel encouraged, we can remember the various pastimes of the Lord. Like how Ambarish Maharaj was so tolerant, so forgiving. For 1 year he was waiting for Durvasa Muni patiently. And although Durvasa Muni committed mistake, still he considered as his own mistake and he was just patiently waiting for him. So like this, there are so many pastimes of various wonderful devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam. And when we hear those pastimes, we get inspired. Not only we get inspired, even Lord Himself is inspired to hear the pastimes, as I told Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So when once the wives of Lord in Dwarka, they wanted to hear the childhood pastimes of Krishna. So that time, our Rohini, she was telling the childhood pastimes of Krishna. So Subhadra was guarding the door. So that time when Krishna and Balram also came, and we see that when they heard the pastimes of Krishna, childhood pastimes, and how especially the love of Rajavasis for Krishna, we see that even Krishna was stunned to see the devotion of the Vrajavasis. So much that his eyes became so big and his uh, bodily limbs got shrunk. He was in complete ecstasy. So seeing the devotion of the Vrajavasis, even Lord went into ecstasy. Right? So he was touched by the devotion of the Vrajavasis. Right? So we can also hear, we should actually, when we hear how the Vrajavasis had so much devotion, so it should really, it will actually transform our heart. Like how, although Krishna left Vrindavan, still they were every day serving the Lord as if He is there. And even after many, many years, their devotion to Lord never decreased. And we see the pastime of gopis where they were ready to go to hell eternally to please Krishna even for 1 second. So today is the auspicious disappearance day of Lochandas Thakur. As Prabhupada is mentioning, hearing the glories of his devotees is same as and hearing the glories of the Lord. So the Lochandas Thakur, he appeared in this world in 1520 in Kogram village in the district of Bardhaman. So his parents were Kamalakar and Sri Sadanand Mataji. So he was the disciple of Sri Narhari Sarkar, and he is famous for writing the Chaitanya Mangal. So Vrindavan Das Thakur also wrote pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. It was also named as Chaitanya Mangal, but later to differentiate, because Vrindavan Das Thakur is non-different from Vyasdev, they named it as Chaitanya Bhagavat. So there are some nice pastimes in the Chaitanya Mangal. We'll discuss few. So Lochandas Thakur is also famous for writing songs glorifying Gaurnitai. Famous songs like Paramakaruna, Akrodha Paramananda, like that he has written. So in the book Chaitanya Mangal, so there is mention of few pastimes. So once Lord Chaitanya, he called all his devotees and he took one mango seed and sowed it in the soil. Immediately a huge mango tree came right in front of their eyes and they got very ripened mango fruits. They were all stunned to see the mystic power of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So one devotee brought the fruit to give it to Lord Chaitanya. Immediately everything disappeared. So Lord Chaitanya said that actually how in this world we should not be attached to the fruits of our labor. But the fruits, if it is offered to the Lord, then it is worthy. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to teach that in this world when we work, we should offer the fruits of our labor to the Lord, not for one's own enjoyment. There's another pastime. Once Lord Chaitanya along with the Brahmanas from Navadip, they had gone to one city called Madhusudana. One city where there was Lord Madhusudana deity being worshipped. So in that town, there were many Brahmanas who were very, very simple. So they were worshipping the Lord very simply, means in a different rituals. So when these Brahmanas from Navadip saw, they were offensive. They thought, what kind of worship it is? They don't know how to worship and all. They were thinking little offensive way about this. So Lord Chaitanya, to teach these Brahmanas a lesson, suddenly he got very high fever, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So all the devotees were surprised. They were trying to reduce the fever of Lord Chaitanya by giving some medicines and all, but they were not able to reduce. So then Lord Chaitanya said, only if I get the water of a pure Brahmana, water which is wash the feet of a pure Brahmana, only then I will be able, I will be relieved. So they tried to, they requested one Brahmana, local Brahmana, and they washed his feet. And to help Lord Chaitanya, he immediately gave. When Lord Chaitanya drank that, immediately his fever came off. So then they all realized that these Brahmanas are not ordinary, they are pure Brahmanas, although they look very simple. Hmm. So Lord Chaitanya wanted to teach that it is not by one's birth or scholarship that one is a Brahmana, but it is by one's qualifications. Then there is one more story of one very poor Brahmana from South India. So he was so poor that he was suffering a lot. So once he thought that I heard that Lord is there in Jagannath Puri. So I'll go to Lord Jagannath and request me to make me wealthy. So he went to Lord Jagannath Puri, and there he was praying to Lord Jagannath, please make me rich, please make me wealthy. So he thought Lord will fulfill, but still he was not becoming wealthy. So then he said, see, in 7 days, if you don't fulfill my request, I will commit suicide. So, so days went by one after another, but still Lord was silent. Lord was not giving any wealth. So finally, this Brahmin decided that I will commit suicide by jumping in the ocean. So he went to the ocean and he started walking inside the water towards the ocean. So suddenly he saw one huge personality coming from the water. Very huge, tall, huge. So he was surprised. Who is this? So then eventually he came to the shore, banks of the ocean. Then he became like small, from huge size. So then he thought he saw such huge person, he might be Jagannath. So he ran to that and he said, "Oh Brahmin, who are you? Uh, uh, can you make me wealthy? I went to Jagannath and I prayed and I told I will die, but still he did not make me wealthy. So can you please help me to become wealthy?" He said, yeah, I will make you wealthy, don't worry, come. I will make you meet one beautiful Jagannath. He is very, very attractive. He can make you very wealthy. Don't worry, come. So he took this Brahmana, and that tall personality was Vibhishan. And he became a simple Brahmana. He reduced his size and became a simple Brahmana. And then Lord Chaitanya, along with his associates, were at Tota Gopinath discussing Krishna Katha. So when Vibhishan went with this Brahmana, the door was closed. So Lord Chaitanya said to Mukunda, please open the door. The two Brahmanas came. So everybody was surprised. So they came, and when they came, Lord Chaitanya embraced this Vibhishan. They said, from so many years I am waiting for you. Where were you? And they had ecstatic symptoms. Everybody was surprised that who is this personality, we never saw him. And then they had Krishna Katha for a long time. And then after the Krishna Katha, then that Vibhishan told Lord that this Brahmana is very poor and is suffering. All the story he tells. Then Lord Chaitanya tells, okay, why don't you give him wealth? He is after all suffering, he is a poor Brahmana. So let you please give him wealth. So then they came out, and that Brahmana also heard Lord saying. So then that Brahmana asked this Vibhishan that, okay, he is saying give me wealth, where is the wealth? So then Vibhishan starts chastising him. You are so fool, so foolish. The same Lord Jagannath is there in this form of Lord Chaitanya, and you got his personal darshan and you could hear Krishna Katha, still you are not satisfied. What sort of Brahmana you are? He chastised him. Then that Brahmana eventually realized his ignorance and his mistake, and then he surrendered to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So the real wealth is to actually get the darshan of Lord and to engage in devotional service. That is real wealth. So that Brahmana eventually realized that he got the greatest wealth of devotional service in the association of devotees. So these are some pastimes mentioned in Chaitanya Mangal. So this Narhari, this Lochandas Thakur, there is one pastime where he was married in childhood itself, and his later on he went to Narhari Sarkar to be trained under him in Katwa. For many years he was serving under his spiritual master. So when he grew up, the father-in-law and all, they came and said he got already married and his wife is waiting. So then Narhari Sarkar tells him to go back to be with his wife. So when he came to his village, there was one lady drawing the water from the well. So Lochandas Thakur asked that lady, Mataji, where is the no so and so house? So that lady directs Lochandas Thakur to go to his house. So when he goes to the house, he tells, I am so and so, and I was sent by my spiritual master. So then the parents tell, yeah, yeah, my daughter is coming. So they show him the daughter. Then he sees, then he realizes that she is the same lady whom he asked about address. Then he says, oh, I can't accept her as my wife because I saw from my heart her as Mataji, mother. Now I cannot see her as my wife. So seeing the genuine sincerity of Lochandas Thakur, his devotion, then the father-in-law also told him that, okay, now better you go away and serve your spiritual master. So Lochandas Thakur later on, he served Sri Narhar Sarkar, and he wrote Chaitanya Mangal and wrote all those beautiful Vaishnava songs in simple Bengali language, glorifying the Lord. So, like this, there are so many pastimes of devotees. So we all need, we also need inspiration, as I was telling, in our lives to practice Krishna consciousness. So when we see the pastimes of our acharyas and the devotees in Srimad Bhagavatam, we really get inspired that how these devotees had so much devotion, and for the sake of the Lord, they are ready to give up anything of this world. So we can pray to Lochandas Thakur that we can also develop drop of such devotion towards the Supreme Lord. Sri Lochandas Thakur ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Samveta Gaura Bhaktavinda ki jai.